Hello there again, folks. This is Cat's Pajamas.
And this is Pain User.
And we are back now for game number 2 here at the IPL Season 2 Qualifier Round of 16 match between our teal Terran player here at the 12 o'clock position on Metalopolis. He is Beastyqt. His opponent down here at the 6 o'clock position, our red Terran player, roxkisBratOK, and we are spawning again on Metalopolis. Now, BratOK doing a very nice job in game number 1, neutralizing the amount of tanks. The tank advantage that Beastyqt had going into the mid-game there, was able to take those out and use his pure numbers to just crush through his opponent. And we'll see if Beastyqt can come back in this game.
Yeah, I definitely think he's capable of coming back in this game. It's not like he played terribly last game. Really, BratOK just did a tremendous job gaining small advantages throughout that game, especially in the early game when he was able to force that liftoff with that early combat shield marine push. And I really like that combat shield marine push, especially on a map like Xel'Naga Caverns with such a wide berth around your natural, where you can sneak those marines around the side, around. Basically, he was able to avoid that bunker, which was the only thing Beastyqt really had to prevent him from going straight up the ramp and doing a ton of damage. So I really like that decision on a map like Xel'Naga Caverns, and it turned out to pay off for him very well. Although the drops didn't work out so well, it didn't really matter. He was still very far ahead, and he ran away with that lead.
Oh yeah, especially after that attack that you were talking about where he just circumvents the bunker altogether. He's able to deny so much mining time there that he could play that nice safe macro game. And you were kind of talking about in that game as well that Beastyqt shouldn't, it really wasn't his timing to move in at that point. He had the tank advantage, but his marine numbers weren't there. He didn't have combat shields. Just seemed really, really awkward out of him. And looks like Beastyqt has gone ahead and finished his refinery. Same thing for roxkisBratOK. So looks like everything all standard at this point.
BratOK once again mining with 2 SCVs on his gas. Probably going to go ahead and get that second Rax. Yeah, he's getting that second Rax again. So he's going to do the marine push that he did with the Reaper and try and get through to the front. Maybe deny the natural expansion for a little bit. If that avenue is blocked, I think what he's opting to do is use those Reapers to try and sneak into the main, get some damage done. But Beastyqt was all over that last game, and I don't see him falling for it for any particular reason this game. I would have liked to have seen BratOK change it up, but maybe this build's been working wonders for him lately. It worked last game, and it allows you to build up that marine count really early on, and I think that's what's so important about this build. You get 2 barracks down, you get that reactor, the tech lab, you can start working on combat shields almost immediately, and you can really bolster your marine numbers early on.
Yeah, and this seems like a case of him knowing his opponent really well as well, because he was able to deny that base from coming down for Beastyqt for so long that he was able to kind of neutralize that no-gas fast expand timing. And looks like once again Beastyqt is going to 1 Rax fast expand, but this time behind a Reaper, so he himself going to get out a Reaper as well. So already a couple of Marines making their way up, doing a little bit of forward scouting for BratOK, so he is going to make his way in here in just a second. BratOK, on the other hand, he does have the resources committed towards the expansion, and bam, there it is coming down. So the command center pretty close in timing there, and it looks like, oh, those Marines are going to get pushed back. Unfortunately, those are going to get killed by the Reaper. Reaper goes down, and Beastyqt looks like he's going to make his way across the map with that Reaper.
I like this move from Beastyqt. Was that all? Yeah, that's all produced off a single Rax for Beastyqt, just a single tech lab Rax, and it looks like he's going to be going with a biocentric build this game. Already up to 3 Rax immediately after a 1 Rax FE. He did get that gas and the tech lab, so he does have a Reaper out on the field, but I don't know if he's going to see that the Marine and the Marauder and those 2 Marines maybe caught the tail end of those units, but they might be able to sneak around that Reaper. No, he is actually sending the Reaper and the Marine back to his base right now, so he must have seen those. Probably not going to get any damage done here is BratOK. Beastyqt all over this. Pulling SCVs, has a couple Marines out. Doesn't lose a single SCV right there. He might get a single Reaper, but he's trading 2 Marines and a Marauder right now. I don't know if it's worth it for him necessarily. Great micro right there from Beastyqt, surrounding that Marauder with the SCVs, but not going to press the action. Going to go ahead and fall back and wait for some reinforcements here.
Yeah, that was a nice job of BratOK to at least know that he had those reinforcements coming back and to pull back into those. But that Marauder is almost dead, walking around with a limp leg at the very least. Beastyqt now dropping down Mule over at his natural expansion. And if you notice, his positioning on his bunker has changed a little bit. He did throw that a little bit closer to the ramp on Xel'Naga. Looks like he is putting that in a position to catch units flanking around once again. And it does appear that BratOK is going to be pretty aggressive with this Bioforce now. He is just waiting on a few more reinforcements. Has a lot of Marines combat shield done for him, of course, and he is investing in a lot of upgrades. Stimpack just starting for both players as well. BratOK going to make his way in here in just a second, but I do believe that there are sufficient enough forces, especially behind this bunker, to make a difference.
So not too much going on right now in BratOK's base. He's just continuing to build up this Marine Marauder force. Stim is on the way now, as is Weapons 1. Just now adding a factory is BratOK. Both players essentially mimicking builds right now. Beastyqt actually getting his starport a little bit earlier and also getting his third barracks a little bit earlier. Stim timings relatively identical, and both players just kind of BratOK more than Beastyqt, poking and prodding, checking out the natural, figuring out what's going on, not necessarily gaining an advantage like he did last game. Beastyqt was able to hold off that early pressure. It did not do anything too significant. So relatively even game right now, and there's going to be a little bit of a lull in the action as both players pull back to their naturals and start building up their infrastructure. Now, both these players are going to get medevacs out relatively soon here and look to see some quick drops out of both players. That is probably going to be how they try and split their damage here going into the mid game, as neither player wants to commit to a full-on push right now.
Yeah, and just like you were talking about before, BratOK wasn't as successful with the amount of harassment that he was doing with that poking and prodding, so Beastyqt has been left to his own devices for a while, and that's really reflected in the amount of units that are out. Slight worker advantage for Beastyqt. The amount of units for both players about even, but of course Beastyqt is a little bit quicker to an expansion, had that third racks out a little bit faster like you were talking about before. Same with the medevacs as well, as he's already started and about ready to finish a couple of those. But the one thing, though, that BratOK has going for him is there even an engineering bay out? I don't believe so. Beastyqt does not have an engineering bay out, and all of these bioforces for BratOK are already +1 attacks with +1 armor on the way.
He does have that +1 armor on the way. Has already completed that +1 weapon, so he is a little bit ahead in the upgrade field right now. But one thing is he is starting the siege tank production and siege mode a little bit later, although it's not so much later that it's really going to make a difference. I think their siege tank count is going to be almost identical. Beastyqt does have that third command center up at his natural right now. Yes, it is done, and he is morphing that into an orbital command, so he will get his third a little bit earlier. Let's check BratOK's timing real quick on that. Okay, so he will have his third command center up and running much earlier than BratOK. BratOK actually pushing into the third right now. Both players just... Oh, what a money scan from Beastyqt right there. Unbelievable game sense. That is very impressive. I would not have guessed that in a million years. So he actually knows that these forces are coming into the natural right now. He's probably going to have a few reinforcements in position. He does have a siege tank ready, and it looks like he is going to push himself at BratOK's natural, and let's see what he can get done.
Yeah, absolutely. So here comes Beastyqt. Now he's going to make his way in. There's the stim, doing a lot of damage. Looks like both players are going to trade their third bases as they had started. Nice job by BratOK to already go ahead and pick up his orbital command at his natural, run his way in. Thirds have gone down for both players, but this army here is still doing a lot of damage. Oh, it looks like BratOK may just decide to run away from this. Is he going to have enough forces to clean this up? I believe he is. It looks like Beastyqt is going to be pushed away. Unit count between the two players suggests that indeed there is a much greater force out for BratOK at the moment, but he is down by 13 workers at the moment. So is that economic disparity going to give Beastyqt the ability to get back in this? He does. Oh, did he actually retain the third base? He did. So he has a third orbital command that does give him a decided economic advantage, but he is way down in forces now. Looks like BratOK is going to move right back in, and Beastyqt actually unsieges his tank there for a second, needs to siege up one more time. Looks like BratOK is actually just going to move away at only the loss of a few forces there as he furiously tries to reestablish that third base.
Yeah, BratOK really needs to make something happen here. He needs to do some damage, and he has the army to do it right now. I just don't know what kind of intel he has on Beastyqt's base. He may think that there are more tanks than there actually are, and it looks like Beastyqt adding turrets all around his base right now. Really worried about some kind of a drop, and he knows that he's so far ahead right now. Also adding that sensor tower. I love this decision by him. It's going to cover pretty much his entire main base from any kind of drops. He'll know where they're coming. He'll be able to react. And BratOK trying to deny this third right now once again, but it is still not there. Beastyqt playing very smart, very conservative, just building up on that harvester count, and he was already so far ahead to begin with. Now he's just increasing that lead, but one thing BratOK does have going for him is his macro has been stellar this game. He has a huge Marine army right now, only one tank in the composition, and back at his natural, BratOK is continuing to build up on that army. Not as many reinforcements as I thought he might have had, and Beastyqt able to close the gap a little bit in the army position right now.
Yeah, absolutely. The supply advantage was still heavily in BratOK's favor, but obviously the longer that he stood there and did no sort of harassment, didn't do anything else to deny the mining of Beastyqt, it just favors Beastyqt. Oh, it looks like he's going to stim in with a bunch of forces here, and he is actually doing a lot of damage to this Marine force with those superior numbers. Picks up, immediately moves away. Is he going to lose the medevac? He does! That is quite a loss right there. So Beastyqt does have that entire force cleaned up. I think that was almost an even trade there in terms of pure Marines, but with that medevac loss and all that energy, that does hurt him quite a bit. He is going to move out now and try and establish this third base, but Beastyqt still with that economic advantage, but that is quickly disappearing as BratOK does have now 3 SCVs at a time being produced, or has the capability to do so, and has his third well established.
Yeah, BratOK is doing a tremendous job right now in this game. He's been dictating the pace of the game since the get-go. Pretty much all the aggression, aside from that little Marine push we just saw from Beastyqt, has all been by BratOK. He's been poking, he's been prodding. Beastyqt did have that one push in the mid-game where he was able to get some damage done, where they both circumvented each other in the middle of the map. But right now, BratOK looking very fierce with this army, and it looks like he's going to take up this cute position behind the third, going to be able to for sure deny that gas and just put Beastyqt in tears. Excuse me, BratOK sieging up in this beautiful position right here, and it's going to put Beastyqt against the wall. He's going to have to make something happen here, and this is just an excellent position for him, spotting with that medevac on the high ground. And I really don't know how Beastyqt is going to be able to deal with this. He doesn't have enough tanks. He doesn't have, enough medevacs. He can't do a mass drop here, and the Marines are in a perfect position to cover. So this is just an excellent position for BratOK right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so he is going to sit there. The scan goes down one more time, and that's the horrible feeling scan, I guess I should say, for Beastyqt right there, as he sees all of those forces there and knows there's no way for him to just attack into that. That's brilliant positioning out of BratOK. He has killed so much of the economy here. Beastyqt forced to pull so many units off of that. We're looking at the units tab right now. The work count has actually equaled for both players. The economy will be a little bit in BratOK's favor because Beastyqt has mined out his main for the most part. Looks like he's going to bring over a couple of Vikings now to start driving away this medevac. That will certainly help the positioning war, but Beastyqt really needs to make this count. He's going to move in right now. He's going to start sieging himself up, but there's the scan, and BratOK doing so much damage to Beastyqt's forces. Beastyqt not even able to fire down upon that siege tank line, loses a couple of tanks there, further putting him in a bad position.
Yeah, BratOK up by roughly 30 Marines right now. Siege tank counts relatively even, +1 for BratOK, and I think he's also ahead in the upgrades as well. So what a money scan right there from BratOK when he picked off those 2 tanks. That was so smart by him. Beastyqt able to retain air control, so he does have that extra sight, but with these 3 orbitals, BratOK is he's saving so much energy and using all of his energy on scans, and he's timing them so well that he's essentially tricking Beastyqt into thinking, hey, he's got to be out of scans at this point, right? He has to have dropped a mule. And now going in again, and another scan had been saved and able to kill a bunch of those Marines right there. However, I think that was still a plus for Beastyqt. BratOK committing with everything right now. I don't know if this is what he wants to be doing right here, although his Marine count is so far superior to BratOK. There's essentially nothing he can do. And GG is called. So game 2 as well going to BratOK. And he was actually down in that game for a little bit. And I think he really managed to bring it back with some great decision making and some solid play.
Yeah, it was really weird because there was this timing when, BratOK, he was way ahead in Army. Don't get me wrong. I think he had double the Marine count at one point, but Beastyqt had an extra base. He hadn't lost his third. He was producing multiple SCVs at a time. He had a huge economic lead basically going into that portion of the game, and BratOK was just never really able to do anything about that. And I actually thought it was really uncomfortable as we were going on. I was like, okay, if he waits now, Beastyqt can just equalize this army. He can do it. But then BratOK is just like, all right, well, how about the superior positioning? How about these clutch scans? You're not watching your third in any way, shape, or form. I'll just deny all the economy there.
Yeah, Beastyqt definitely could have used another one of those money scans as BratOK was on his way to the third that second time, but he did not know it was coming. BratOK got in that beautiful position and picked off so many units, and he was able to win that game. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for Game 3. We'll be coming right back at you.